welcome back to part 2 of our conversation with Wes Askins, who is getting more remarkable by the moment. Any particular subject that you found that you liked and were good at in your school experience?
I was very good at shop.
Okay.
Wood shop, I was good at, but it wasn't my favorite. Metal shop, when I could start welding and working with metal.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the most interesting part. And I think we had a little bit of small engine, an introduction to small engines.
Mm-hmm. And now BOCES, how did that enter your life? Who told you about it, or what happened?
Well, I knew I needed something more than English and social studies and that part of the schooling. So in 11th grade, when I was eligible to go to BOCES, instead of auto mechanics, I picked agricultural and heavy equipment maintenance.
Okay.
Which had welding, hydraulics, engine theory.
Mm-hmm.
So I lived for going to BOCES.
Sure.
I never even wanted to skip school.
Right.
I didn't want any snow days.
Did you go every day?
Every day. Every day
Right.
for the afternoon class.
Oh, okay. Yep.
We were in school till 11 o'clock. Then we'd have lunch and head to BOCES on the BOCES bus.
Okay.
And that's where I came alive. Because I had so much knowledge of mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
I could already weld and cut, braze
Right.
with oxyacetylene because of working with my grandfather and Uncle Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And because of tinkering around on field cars and stuff,
Sure.
I knew I was, picking up more and more and more about engines.
But by the way, field car means that didn't leave the property. You drove it around the field.
Only when Mom and Dad were gone would we get it up onto the pavement and start burning the tires.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
But we had a big field across the road where we would drive the field cars around.
Sure. Agricultural and heavy equipment maintenance, and the reason for that is that you loved it.
Yes.
And you knew that going in.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And in my second year of BOCES, numerous times when he was giving the class a lesson, he'd have me back welding, fabricating something for a project that we were working on at the time, or he'd have me out plowing snow or sanding the parking lot and the road at BOCES. So I felt like I owned the class.
Right.
And my teacher was an ex-Marine drill sergeant.
Oh.
Who, believe me, could dress you down till you felt that tall.
Mm-hmm.
When he'd do it to me, I'd just stand there with a smile on my face.
Yeah.
And he didn't have to do it much.
Right. You weren't a troublemaker. I don't see you as a troublemaker. So.
Well, no, not so much till after my accident.
Yeah.
I've started several barroom brawls and.
After?
Yes.
After the accident?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
And
how about? Really? Okay.
Yes. Unfortunately, I'd get bored.
Yeah.
and want to start a fight just because I was bored.
Okay.
Or if I had a problem with somebody,
Hmm.
more than once, it was just one punch and that was the end of the fight.
Gotcha. Must have been difficult.
And most of the time I'd get arrested
Oh,
because nobody liked being beat up by a blind guy.
right. Yeah. I can see how that would be a problem for people. Oh,
Like my friends would say, if somebody wanted to start trouble with me, they'd say, look, tomorrow, one or two things is going to happen, and tomorrow you're either going to, it ain't going to be good for you, because you're either going to be bragging that you beat up a blind guy or that you got whipped by a blind guy.
right. Either
and
way.
neither one of them
Yeah.
are good.
That's right.
So yes, I started some trouble that I shouldn't have. And I apologize for that part of my life. I was pretty wild and gutsy
Yeah.
and just had way too much enthusiasm and energy for.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty mild reaction to what happened to you. That's not an over-the-top reaction. You were working out the emotions.
Yes,
You know?
a lot of it was. Yeah.
You know, that's what that's about.
Yep.
And
But I never sat in the corner and cried.
yeah, okay, right.
I knew that wasn't any fun in that. And there was something that I was going to do to be productive and amuse myself and amaze myself. So that's what I spent my whole life since then.
And right, okay. And the shop opened in 73?
1979.
No, I'm sorry, 79. Okay.
In 1978, after suffering with cancer, my grandfather, Ori Tubbs, the welder,
Yeah.
one of the men I thought the sun rose and set for,
Yeah.
passed away.
Yeah.
And 2 days after his funeral, after a day of my Uncle Joe and my mother, who were both son and daughter of my grandfather, after a day of kind of finalizing some of his business, that had to be taken care of,
Yeah.
after my Uncle Joe got home with 3 or 4 people there, close friends that were on the emergency squad visiting him, just, consoling him. He had a massive heart attack,
Oh,
and they could not bring him back, even though they were right there.
oh my God. And
He
that
was 38 years old. So
Oh my God.
within 3 days, I lost the 2 men that I thought the sun rose and set for. So that was difficult on my whole family, my mother especially, and us boys. So my grandmother, who was not doing very well, who had had numerous strokes, went to a nursing home. So the whole summer, I'm thinking that maybe with the insurance money from my car accident, that I could buy my grandfather's garage and home and start doing mechanics.
right.
Well, my mother said, I won't sell it to you unless you go down to the blind school to learn a little bit about how to run a business. And lo and behold, the Northeastern Association of the Blind had a small engine repair course.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Designed for you.
designed for me. So
Okay.
in October of '78, I went to live in East Greenbush
Yep.
and attend the school in Albany, where
Yep.
I took the small engine repair course, which I excelled in,
Right.
got the highest marks on all the tests.
Right.
I also had to take Braille and learn how to type, and home economics, which was learning how to cook and you know, and maintain your daily life. On which I taught them a few things.
I'm
also.
sure you did. Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, and I had to learn how to use an abacus for math.
Oh, yeah, that's on the wire on the
The little beads.
the little beads.
The
Yeah.
little
Okay.
Chinese thing that you know.
Right.
You got a ones, tens, and hundreds, and column, whatever. I can't remember it all now.
Right.
And doing mechanics, my fingers got so tough that it was very hard to read Braille.
Oh, sure. Calluses. Yeah. Yeah.
But so in this small engine repair class, we were taught the Briggs and Stratton and Tecumseh factory service and repair courses
Gotcha.
from the factory.
Right.
It was an 18-month course. I completed it in 7 months
Right.
and got out of Albany and moved back.
Move back.
Of course, every weekend I would take a Trailways bus to Glens Falls, come home for the weekend.
Yeah.
Every Monday morning, my mother would drop me off at the bus.
Right.
I'd be back down to Albany
Right.
early in the morning.
You wanted to be home though.
Wanted to be home. I had gotten a little trouble down there at the school. When a guy started some trouble with me, and
Right.
he shouldn't have,
Right.
and I kind of ended it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
he had some people that were big contributors, so I think they were happy to see me leave anyhow.
Okay.
I didn't leave with bad recommendations or
Right.
anything,
Right.
but
Right.
I think they were.
I gotcha. But you left with the knowledge of those two engines,
Correct.
Tecumseh and Briggs and Stratton.
Right.
Yeah.
Which flows over into anything.
Right.
I don't care what it is. It's got to have compression, spark, and fuel
That's that
to run.
That's what even people need. I
Exactly.
understand. Exactly. Compression.
Yeah.
Smart speed, you said?
Spark
Spark.
and
Compression.
fuel.
Compression, spark, and fuel.
Fuel.
That's
Correct.
Okay.
Suck, bang, blow.
Oh, okay. So, how have you designed your shop to make it work for you?
Well, I don't do anything different from anybody else. Of course, at the school down there in the small engine repair course, we learned how we could make little blocks of wood and nail different nails to them to mark feeler gauges.
Okay.
So
Feeler
we know
gauges.
Feeler gauges that we had to use to set the points, and to check ring end gap, piston ring end gap. So, but I never did. I never did mark them. I kept the ones that I needed on a key ring. Briggs and Stratton valves, the intakes are set from 5 to 7 thousandths, and the exhausts are 9 to 11 thousandths. So I would have a 6, which was between 5 and 7, get right in the middle there. And I'd have a 10 thousandths, which was between 9 and 11.
Mm-hmm.
10 thousandths is what the intake and both intake and exhaust valves were set at on a Tecumseh.
Okay.
So with those three feeler gauges, I could do all the valves on either engine.
Mm-hmm.
Plus I had a 20 thousandths, because that's what the points were set at on both engines, and a 35 thousandths, which the spark plugs are supposed to be set at. So with those 5, and I could tell by bending them which one was which.
These are the
Feeler gauge.
with the nails.
I didn't have the nails.
Oh, you didn't have
I
the
didn't
nails.
have the boards with the nails.
Okay.
I just put them on a key ring, and I could tell which one was which by
okay.
how easy I could bend them.
Oh, okay. Okay. But how about everything else? Like,
Well, I did have a Braille micrometer
okay.
with a telescopic gauge that it was a 2 to 3 inch Braille micrometer that I could measure the bore, the cylinder bore in these engines with.
Okay.
And it was Braille, so I could,
Yeah. Yeah. And you probably you could diagnose any problem. People brought it in, you could troubleshoot it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you're still doing that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Yep.
So you explained a little bit. You say I was going to say, how do you make working on engines? Can you explain how you made that work?
Well,
Because it seems impossible to somebody like me. Anyway, how'd you do it?
well, to tell you the truth, John, the engine design has not changed since that first little Briggs & Stratton engine sitting on that old rotor tiller, the old Country Squire.
Oh, the one that you used.
On the rotor tiller when I was 8 years old.
Yep.
Basically, the engines have not changed the style of the block.
Okay.
Carburetors have changed.
Yeah.
Ignitions have changed because they no longer use points. It's all a magneto, solid state ignitions. And that's why none of these kids nowadays in at most of these repair shops, they don't know how to set points.
Right. That's old. Yeah.
That's old school.
Old school. Yeah.
And once this summer, I even had to set a set of points when a real old rotor tiller came in with a Briggs & Stratton 2 horsepower engine, which I've never seen. But I had to bring out my points cleaning and setting skills.
And you still got them.
I got them.
You got them.
Got them.
Beautiful. By the way, how is business? How is it going?
Business is seasonal in my line of work.
Yeah.
I had the busiest May this year that I've ever had. I was loving it. I was in my element.
Yeah.
I love what I do.
Yeah.
I love it. And they say if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah. I think that's true.
It's like my sandbox.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've amazed myself. I've done auto mechanics. I had a 1957 F500 Ford stake truck, flatbed, that I had been trying to buy since I was 13 years old. Finally, in 1985, the fella decided he was finally going to let it go. So I bought it for $100. The engine was seized up because it had sucked the valve down through one of the pistons. And so I was married at the time, and my father-in-law had a 6-cylinder 223 engine that he said would run that truck, power that truck.
Mm-hmm.
With an old 4-speed Stewart Warner truck transmission in it. So I wanted to make that truck into a hay truck to deliver hay.
Oh, okay.
So I pulled the engine out. I put the 223 in there, mostly all by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I replanked the flatbed. I made racks for the side. And my father-in-law, who was a welder, he was actually the head mechanic at Skidmore Bus Garage.
Oh, the college.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
Earl Chandler.
Oh, okay.
Good, very well-known welder, jack of all trades.
Mm-hmm.
He made me what they call a bunk rack, which was over the top of the cab,
Mm-hmm.
which was 9 feet long and 8 feet wide, right over the top of the cab, right from the back rack all the way to the front bumper.
Mm-hmm.
So I started out with my wife at the time was driving, and we would go to a farm when we found somebody that wanted a load of hay. We would go buy the hay. I was loading it on the truck. They'd throw it out of the barn, and I was loading it on the truck myself, because at the time she was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So she would just drive, and I would do all the loading. And
Mm-hmm.
in 1986, after a year of hauling hay with that 6-cylinder, the 6-cylinder snapped the camshaft and popped the hole in the side of the block. That engine was no good anymore.
Yeah.
Rather than putting an old style V8 back in there, at the time I had a 1972 Mercury Comet with a 302 V8 engine in it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that engine in my truck,
Mm-hmm.
because believe me, that thing ran like a top.
Huh.
So I had to order a special bell housing and motor mount to bolt that engine into the truck and up to the old Stewart Warner transmission. So in 1986, in that spring, I finished it up, and I did that work by myself.
See, I'm still not understanding how you did this. I mean, how did you even think that you could do it having no sight?
Because I could see it. Just like I told you, the engines haven't changed their design. When I'm working on an engine, I'm looking at it. I see it in my mind's eye.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm working on the truck in the V8, putting it in, it's all stuff I've done before. I could see it.
But needing special motor mounts, how would you even know where they went?
I put them where they needed to be.
Okay.
I had to custom do it because the 302 motor mounts were underneath the engine. The old style engines that came out of the truck were hung by the bell housing and by a motor mount under the front flight dampener.
Okay.
Pulley dampener on the crank dampener on the front of the engine.
Well,
Nothing on the sides.
Right.
So that's why I had to buy this special motor mount.
Yeah.
And I had to drill holes in the frame to
Sure.
mount it. I got that all together and started hauling hay with that in 1986. And actually, my brother, Gary Askins, started working at Napa as an automotive machinist in 1981, I believe, is when he graduated. 81 or 82. So I pulled the the carriage out of this big truck rear end that was doing a lot of howling, and I knew that some of the bearing races were pitted from rust after sitting for so long. So I pulled that out and sent it down with my brother. He totally rebuilt that carriage. I put it back in. I also pulled the front end apart. The kingpin bushings were bad on the truck, and every
Okay.
you know, at
I gotcha.
different times, different drivers. When we'd come to a railroad track, we'd hit that railroad track. Sometimes coming off over the bridge here on Bridge Street, coming down over the HL Bridge, you'd hit a bump, and boy, the front wheels would start wobbling. You'd have to come to a complete stop before you could take off again. So I pulled them kingpins out and sent them down to my brother at Napa. He put new kingpin bushings on it. I put it all back together. The rear end's new, the front end's new, the engine's all good. And in 1986, there was a drought in South Carolina. Down in the Carolinas, there was an extreme drought, and the farmers had no hay to feed. So the Saratoga County Fair got the idea that they were going to take truckloads of hay down south as disaster relief hay. Well, I saw that. I listened to it on the news, and I said, that sounds like fun to me.
Yeah.
So we went down to the fair with the truck. We were interviewed by Channel 6, and I got two of the farmers I was dealing with, John Peters and Don Morrison, each just said they would donate each a half a load of hay. So here it was, 1957 Ford F500 that I had just all done myself.
Yeah.
And we headed to North Carolina with 5 tons of hay.
That's
A bunch of it right above us.
right
on the bunk
On
rack.
the bunk. That is a remarkable story.
659 miles.
Right.
We were the first. This was my wife driving. We were the first truck from New York State to pull into Oxford, North Carolina with disaster relief hay.
That's beautiful.
In a 1957 Ford F500.
Right.
In my scrapbook,
Okay.
I have a big picture from the newspaper down there. They put a picture of us in my truck right on the front page.
Well, that is another amazing story. There is now to close that, but that is remarkable what you just told. I know that your mom just moved in with you,
Correct.
and how you, because you want her close by,
Correct.
and how was it going? Even though she just came a couple days ago.
She came on Tuesday. She came from the Glens Falls Saratoga Hospital, where she went in because she was short of breath, couldn't hardly breathe, no energy.
Yeah.
She was suffering from congestive heart failure.
Yeah.
Because the fluid building up around her lungs and heart, because of this mitral valve that is bad, not opening and closing properly. She already had her aorta valve replaced, and when they told her that she needed her mitral valve replaced, she said no.
Okay, no more.
I'm done.
Okay.
No more procedures.
Okay.
Let's let nature take its course.
Okay.
Well, it culminated a week ago, last Wednesday, in the hospital, and us boys had to come to a decision that we were not letting my mother return to Solomon Heights in Queensbury and live by herself any longer. I've been trying to get her to come and stay with me for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
At least 3 years.
Right.
Nope, I'm not ready yet. Nope, I'm not ready yet.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I talk to her every day, so I know what's going on with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of times, she tried to feed me some bull.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I say, Mother, is that bull? And she'd say, nope, no bull. But you know something? You can't bull the old buller.
That's right. You can't do it.
You know,
Yeah.
I tell people I have no optical vision at all. 0 vision. But I see more than you think I do. I see more than most people do.
Okay.
With these things here
Yeah.
and what's between them.
Yeah. Very well. Wes, this has been an amazing experience for me, for us. I wish we could talk forever.
And I could do it.
Yeah, that's fine. But we really have to. I think we have to close here.
Okay.
But we want to thank you so much for doing this,
Thank you.
and we'll be communicating with you about listening to it when it's ready.
Okay.
You'll be the first.
Okay.
You'll be the first to know.
Okay.
And so, okay, so Mr. Wes Askins, you might be the most remarkable person I've ever met. You're close,
Okay.
and thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.